When I took this job, I thought it would be a simple task. Night shifts at a small roadside hotel, checking in guests, monitoring security cameras, and occasionally making coffee for tired travelers. But I never expected a night like that Friday to change my life forever. It was close to midnight. The hotel was completely silent, and no one was in the lobby. I was looking at the list of vacant rooms when suddenly the sound of the door broke the silence. A man in a long raincoat entered. He was tall, but his face was hidden in the shadow of his hat. He said in a dry, cold voice, "I want a room for tonight." I glanced at the list and replied, "Sure, room 15 is vacant." But he quickly replied, "No, I want room 14." Room 14? No one had stayed in that room for a long time. Ever since a previous guest had taken his own life there, the room had been left empty. I had a bad feeling, but I said nothing. I handed him the key, and he walked silently toward the elevator. About half an hour later, I checked the cameras and noticed something strange. The man was not in room 14. Instead, he was standing in the hallway, staring at the wall. A few minutes later, he suddenly looked at the camera, as if he knew I was watching him. At 3 a.m., I heard footsteps coming from the second floor. The footsteps were heavy and quiet. I got up and walked towards the second floor. The hallway was dark, but the sound of footsteps continued. I approached room 14 and knocked. "Sir, is everything okay?" There was no response. I opened the door and saw the room was empty. No one was there. But when I turned around, I saw the man standing at the end of the hallway. His face was still in shadow, but he had an eerie smile on his lips. I returned to the lobby and tried to stay calm. However, my curiosity led me to open the old hotel files to learn more about room 14. In one of the files, there was a story about a traveler who had stayed in this room years ago. He mysteriously vanished and was never found. His name? Exactly the same name the man had written on tonight's registration form. It was close to 5 a.m., and I was just waiting for the sunrise. But suddenly, the lobby lights went out. The sound of footsteps came again, this time from behind me. When I turned around, the man was standing right in front of me. This time I could see his face, a pale complexion, with hollow eyes staring straight at me. He calmly said, "I've got the key, but it's not time to leave yet." At that moment, all the lights went out, and his voice echoed in the darkness. "Come to room 14. I'll be waiting." At that moment, all the lights went out, and his voice echoed in the darkness. The next morning, the morning shift staff arrived at the hotel. Everything seemed in order, but there was no sign of the night staff. He wasn't at the reception desk, and no matter how much they called out, they received no response. When they checked the hotel security office, they found that the surveillance cameras had been shut down precisely at 5 a.m. The only thing they found was a strangely abandoned key to room 14 left on the reception desk. From that day onward, no one heard from the employee again, and no one dared to enter room 14. If you have a story that you want to be narrated on the Dark Echoes channel, make sure to send it to our Telegram group. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any chilling tales.